Good morning, everyone. Up to the Monday morning meeting of the BOCC. I don't see finance there first on the list. But we have building and planning. Okay.
We can wait, but I'll give you this in the meantime.
Actually, we can't operate if we don't have any money.
You want me to bring you here? Yes, please. Thank you.
In case you gentlemen aren't aware, we're in our live stream with YouTube. We're in timeout. Our Board of Health discussion last week violated their standards and they put us in timeout.
What that tells me.
Yeah, you kind of made our case.
Okay, Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. So I pulled this morning, some of the numbers for our sales tax revenues. So I'll go over that chart. This is something on a monthly basis. I want to make sure that we communicate with the commissioners. So last month I reported that our sales tax collections were down. And this is the collections that are made. We received these in March for actually January activity, January returns. We were down 16%. Then again, this month, we are down on sales tax collections to the tune of about 25% compared to prior year. So I'm analyzing and looking at the details of our sales tax collections. And so I haven't finished that analysis because I'm plowing through all of the information. So, but I can tell that from this, the largest sales tax that we receive is actually a portion of the state funds. And so from the state of Washington, we're down about $1 million compared to, and that's for the month of February's collections. So that's that's part of it. That only amounts to about $20,000 of the difference. But I want to keep looking at it to see if I can pick up anything, anomalies or whatever. So, yeah, but I'm very concerned.
I'm a little slow there. The part you mentioned that comes from the state.
We receive part of our collections on sales and use tax directly from the state.
And it's down $1 million in 2 months?
Taxable amount.
Oh, taxable amount.
Taxable amount, not the taxes themselves, sorry. Yes, the taxable amount is down.
You had me really scared.
Yeah, but some of our other ones are trending, you know, like some major online sales activity seems to be similar month to month comparison. So I'm just going to keep plowing through it and see if I can figure out what's going on. On the economic news for the state, you know, so I looked at that because it's It was released last month, April 12th, the economic news for the state. And they're showing, Washington job growth has been strong. Washington housing construction continues to slow, as we know. Washington car sales remain on an upward trend, so they have more positive news than I do. So I'm not exactly sure why for our particular county that we're seeing a decline in our sales tax revenues. So I need to do more research.
You have this kind of information from other counties?
I don't know, that's what I might try to look to see. I can't pull other counties' sales tax.
Yeah,
When I
okay.
log on, all I can pull is, all I have access is ours right now. But I can see what I can do to try to pull together some of their information.
Just to see if it's a trend
Trend,
other than
mhm.
just Cowlitz County.
Right. So I may reach out to some other, but, that's what's mind boggling is when you look at the economic news for the state, they have positive news. The job growth has been strong. The unemployment rate has been trending upward. And so I don't know as far as our unemployment rate for our county, if I can reach out and get that particular information.
So if all other indications are contrary to this decline, you'd look for what is difference as far as Cowlitz County is concerned. And there is one area of sales tax that is not very well known, but for years and years and years, the two major car dealers had significant state contracts. And those sales went through
Locally.
stores here. Now, of course, those two car dealers have since merged. And Bud Clary's also has dealerships in Yakima County. And I'm wondering if they may have made a business decision to go to a lower tax county to increase their margin, because they don't care, what county the sales tax on the sales goes to. But I remember when I was on the city council, that made up a huge portion of this Longview City sales tax. And of course, Cowlitz County gets a portion of that 15%. So you might call this Longview finance director and just make an inquiry as to whether they know if Bud Clary has made a significant change, because that was always of concern for dealers when we talked about increasing the sales tax 0.1%. Always sounds like it's a very tiny amount. But that, our sales tax level was in competition with the rest of the state. So that might be an explanation. That's a huge hit. And they don't necessarily tell us ahead of time when they make those kinds of decisions.
Yeah. So we're trending contrary to what the state of Washington is trending, because even on their revenue, they were saying their revenue for the period of March through April 10th came in actually 4.5% higher than they had forecasted. So that's what's interesting. So, but I'll do more research, but I'm sounding the, concern button for right now. The good news is when you look at I also gave you charts, and this is from Carolyn's office, that they keep track of the document recording fees and the licensing fees. It's a little mixed, but they saw a dip. They saw increases over last year in the document recording fees. And then a little dip in the month of March. And then the licensing, we're behind compared to prior year. So just a little bit there too. So anyway, hate to
So-
start the meeting out with not so positive news. And then as far as the document recording fees, also our treasurer asked me to report that, as you may be aware, Longview's did a resolution for their city council, and they are rescinding their the collections for they're repealing their election to operate its own local homeless housing program. And so now those fees will come to the county. The treasurer will still disperse up to this date directly to Longview. And then thereafter, those funds will be deposited into our document recording fees income account, revenue account. And I think that takes effect, I think it was, takes effect April, it was signed April 25th, 2024.
I think that's on our agenda
Agenda
tomorrow,
tomorrow,
but
yeah.
it's listed as a resolution rather than correspondence. Are we expected, are
Well,
we passing a resolution?
It was a resolution they passed.
Right, right.
Yes,
I think it's just a
So-
copy of the resolution they
Okay,
passed.
so yeah, that
Right.
should be under correspondence rather than as a resolution.
yeah, so it's their resolution.
When do you think, if we continue to see this trend, when do we start, you start looking how it affects down the road?
Yeah, so what I would do is based upon this information, so far, both months are negative compared to prior months. I'm going to go ahead and do a forecast because my original forecast for the budget was looking at a slight increase over 2023 for this revenue stream. And so I will put together a forecast with, instead of having a increase, having a decrease in our sales tax revenue, and bring that information to you as far as what that impact is.
Okay.
A 10% decrease in the total revenue from last year would be about $1.2 million in total. So I'm going to put that together and put some recommendations together in the event that we're looking at a decrease in our sales tax revenue over the prior year.
Question on the doc recording sheet you gave us. What are the units of the y-axis?
I'm looking at this. I may have picked up transactions instead of dollar amounts.
I think that's what it must be, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me go back and look at that and I'll give you a revised one because I think I picked up the report that's looking at transactions instead of dollar amounts.
And then on the previous topic, someone in the chat named Alan said vehicle sales tax is paid to the area where the vehicle is registered.
Uh-huh.
Say that again, Arn? I didn't.
Vehicle sales tax is paid to the area where the vehicle is registered. So if they register in Yakima, it'll be different than, even though it came from here, but
Yeah, and I agree with that, but I don't know about these dealer sales, because I knew the motorcycle dealer I went to school with in Centralia, they did the same. They went out to bid for like the police bikes, And they were able to underbid because their sales tax was lower in Lewis County. So there may be a little nuance in those type of bidding contracts. I don't know for sure. But what Dennis was saying, I know another group that did the same thing. It was just,
I'm writing a little note to see if I can do some research on that.
You know what, so just out of curiosity on what you said, Mr. Chairman, what's the spread of the sales tax from the highest in the state to the lowest?
I don't know that I have that answer. I don't think it's a huge spread.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking those sales things must be pretty slim on the margins.
I can tell you where they made their money on was not, and I'm just talking about one case, not on the vehicle itself, but when they started adding the lights and the accessories, the stuff they had to add to them. That's where they made the money, because it wasn't so much a bid process there, it was a cost.
So I have one other item on finance. It's that time of year where we have our Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act, which we Title III federal forest funds that come to the county. We are anticipating, based upon what we just received, we have $20,000 available for 2024. And typically, during the month of May, we come to you and look to get authorization to go ahead and solicit, put solicitation out for those funds. And they typically are, the solicitations are typically the fire districts. And so we have $20,000 available from our receipts and from our small fund balance that we have there. And so I'm proposing that we go ahead and start our solicitation in this month. In fact, if I can start it tomorrow, that would be great. And then, because this is one where you have to have a 45-day comment period, you have to post a notice in the paper. And then we would anticipate that we would have a public hearing in July, which I'll put forward that paperwork for the proposal on that. But anticipate dispersing those awards the 1st of August. So it's a rather lengthy process. So today starts the beginning, asking for permission to go ahead and solicit for the funds. And these funds can only be used for very specific rescue and equipment and things like that for the,
I think we had 2 of them last year, right?
Yes.
We came in, we were able to give money to both, so.
right.
Yeah.
So if you're okay with that, I'll start the solicitation process.
Sure.
Okay. And that's all I have
Okay.
for finance.
Thank you, Kathy.
Like I said.
Morning, Commissioners. Tracy Jackson, Building and Planning. I handed out to you earlier, the April month-end reports. They're pretty much static, real similar to the prior month, which is nice. Mike did update the building report, so he added, with Arn's request, the certificate of occupancy issued for each different type of permit that we issue those for. So you can see for that month, how many were issued. So they finalized their permits.
As Mike Wilson, also building planning. You'll notice too that I extracted the ADUs, gave them a separate category. We did this for the reason that we wanted to avoid double counting. The ADUs may take the form of a attached, detached, but they also could be a mobile home or manufactured home. In which case it seemed to be cleaner to count those permits issued for those dwelling types. But as a sidebar, the number of ADUs, as Kamala Harris would probably enjoy, we could create a Venn diagram for this where, there's multiple tasks that are accomplished with the same numbers. So reportable facts are only as useful as the material that you want. So if this is what you want or need, let us know.
Any questions, or do you want me to move on? Give you guys a minute.
So the biggest change from a year is reduction in alterations? Is that how we read these charts?
Mhm.
Everything else seems to be up.
Yeah, all new
year over-
construction in all categories is up. Now, there may be some anomaly here because of people chasing starts before the implementation of the current code. Time will tell. But as you'll see, planning clearances are pretty much the same, so we anticipate the continuance.
But if there is a significant reduction in the number of alterations, and alterations almost always go through local Home Depot and Lowe's, and that might be one of the answers Kathy's going to be looking for.
Could
For
be.
why there's a
Mhm.
decline in sales tax. People aren't doing as much remodeling as they were a year ago. And that's the one big, and I'm just looking at the
Yes.
year-to-date totals. So that's almost 50% of what it was a year ago, so.
You've got a lag in here also, like if I take a look at the new mobile homes, 3 of them, I think that would say initial the permit was open initially or something like that. And the certificate of issue is twice that. So I'm assuming that could have been all the previous month.
Exactly. There's, until this has time to
To stabilize,
reconcile,
yeah.
it's going to be somewhat confusing and may appear
Odd.
fictitious,
Mhm.
but it's not, it's real. So
I think that's really interesting, actually. So the lag between like the I go to you today and I have a mobile home in particular I'm looking at. I get a permit from you to put it on a piece of property. And then it's some time before you come and inspect it and say you've done the right thing and now you can occupy it?
correct. The process could be anywhere between a few months to several years. Depends on how motivated the owner is.
Okay, and if I were completely doing it as quickly as I could, how quickly can you do it?
We're as responsive as we're enabled to do so.
So you're not the long pole in this at all?
No.
For a mobile home?
No, manufactured homes, the placement process can be pretty quick. That's why we have to be careful that we don't prematurely grant occupancy prior to them getting water and sewer reconciled, because they can do them so fast.
Yeah. We're also assuming that everybody who decides to live in a mobile home gets a permit. And we've
Well,
got-
there's that
we've
aspect
got,
to it.
we've got plenty of folks out there that haven't even
Yeah.
bothered to comply.
We tend to discover those during the wintertime when the leaves are gone.
And then if I look at the current month for the mobile homes, there are 3 new ones. But I don't know what the total live in your backlog, if you will, or how many have not yet received a certificate of occupancy.
Correct. As I said, this will take time to work itself out so that you'll start to see, numbers reconcile.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand that,
Yeah.
but it would be useful to know, today, for example, are there half a dozen other mobile homes that are out there pending a certificate of occupancy? So I can see 3 right now.
Yeah, if you look at the, the year to dates, it'll probably be a matter of making a judgment, so to speak, between the two, because we'll issue the permits. As I said, the process is uncertain, it's the length of time.
Oh,
so-
no, I understand that. I'm being a little slothful here because you've supplied a lot of data, and I'm just asking that a meaningful way for you to present it to me is to say, we have 15, let's say 15 permits, and we 15 permits outstanding without a certificate of occupancy. We cleared 3 certificates of occupancy. There are 15 more on the books.
Okay, I think I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
When do they apply for the permit? I've been watching one, a guy was clearing out his land, he built a little shed, then they laid a concrete slab and now there's a manufactured home sitting on it, but it's been like a 9 month process, so. Does the permit start? Probably, probably if it's in a perfect world, following all the rules, probably before you laid the slab. Or
Not
maybe
necess-
even,
Not necessarily. There's no prohibition for them to cast, say, the slab to set the manufactured home on, as long as there is no complication or obstacles as far as grading the site. If it's just maybe a flat site, and they can, in fact, we say, do as much prep work as you can. That is not an obstacle to you. Just go ahead and because we understand they're also they may be in negotiation for purchasing the manufactured home, and there may be timelines and constraints that are tied with that. And they're trying to optimize, what the interest rates that are offered and so forth. So,
yeah,
a lot of this is just, they're moving parts. We try not to be that obstruction in the gears of the process.
okay.
So in the anatomy of that example, the person got a permit to do the slab, right?
Not necessarily. They may not need a permit for that.
You can put a slab up there, right? But then
Yeah.
when if you put a structure on it, don't you want to see whether the footings were deep enough or anything like that?
Well, manufactured homes are designed such that the support is distributed over many, many places. Thereby, there's no singular concentrated load that requires special attention.
Okay, so in the anatomy here, it was just specific to the fact that it's a mobile home or a
Yeah.
manufactured.
Right.
Well, manufactured homes still have they tend to put pressure down on the stem wall, don't they?
No, they're distributed evenly around perimeter and internally.
Internal also?
Yeah. It's on a chassis, and the chassis has load points, and these are all predetermined. And there are prescriptive ways to prepare support for them. Some people like to use a slab. It's usually way more than is necessary, but it provides a clean surface on which to do other things underneath the building. So some people just prefer that.
So for the anatomy there, that doesn't, everything that has taken place before the building is placed on there may have been just at the owner's initiative.
Yes.
Yeah. So it could be a pretty quick process.
Mhm.
I mean, you're right. When I look at it, he had the slab and then
Yeah.
the home sits on there and the home sits on blocks on the all kinds of points underneath.
Exactly.
And then they've built a foundation around the deal. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really clean looking and I get it. When you're crawling under there, it's much easier.
Sure. And, like I said, the timeline is such that water and sewer are their controlling factors. It's not usually the placement of the building itself.
Yeah. And you said what? I didn't catch everything that's an ADU.
Accessory dwelling unit, they may take the form of a detached building or an attached building attached to the primary dwelling. And mobile homes or manufactured homes may also serve as the ADU, the detached ADU. And we just want to avoid recount, double counting things. So it just seemed reasonable that if we're going to have a placement of a building or construction of a building, we associate the number and the value of that construction. And as a sidebar, there are ADUs, and ADUs may be any one of those three. So like I said, we're just trying to provide information that's useful and, we can make sense of it. Like I said, reportable values are only as good as the information that you request, so.
Can we make the assumption that the 3 grading permits were used by mobile home installers because the number's the same? You had 3 new mobile homes. you had 3
That's
grading
probably just
permits.
coincidental. Because we have grading permits that are issued for just, anything and everything as far as people getting out on their Tonka toys and wanting to move dirt around, so.
And I guess, I imagine those grading permits are not for a certain time. So
Grading
that-
permits are valid for 2 years.
until the owner breaks the machine or
Yeah.
decides to stop playing.
It's
I don't know why I
amazing.
looked at you, but
It's amazing how good some people can get with their equipment and the way they can dress up the landscape. It's just like, wow, a lot of practice. And they
Yeah.
just love to do it. I mean, it's kind of, come
And
get
and
your
of
permit.
course, depending on the clay content of their lot,
Yeah,
it can also cause a problem.
I don't know. People with big machines tend to enjoy that sort of thing.
All right, more on our list.
Okay.
I have a retirement, in our office. They're, using the month of May to get appointments and take vacation and some needed medical stuff done. So it's the end of June. So we're not asking to refill that position at this time. We're gonna wait and see how the chips fall and what we're missing and what we're able to absorb with other staff. So a planner is leaving. There's no planning commission this month on Wednesday. We didn't have any agenda items, so there'll be nothing on Wednesday's agenda, so no planning commission. On Thursday, we have our Building and Planning Advisory Committee and meet at 2:00 and across the hall. And the main focus on that will be private road standards. Susan rolled out her kind of high-level model of what she's looking for to roll out. And so we rolled that out to BPAC last month and just put the concept out there. And we've allowed our committee members and our attendees to comment to Susan this last week. So hopefully we'll have a good discussion this next week. So that will be, our main focus will be on Thursday, will be all our just getting down to the nitty gritty on this private road standards. At 10:00, we'll be discussing the surface mine with you. It's on the agenda tomorrow. Excited, 10 years in the making. We've got closure, we hope, tomorrow. we have notification from Department of Commerce that we have a $150,000 grant available to us. And we have until early fall to accept the money. I'm just throwing this out to the board. We want time to research and make sure there's no strings attached to this money. So far, we've talked to Doug and others, and because it's mandated, we have to update our comp plan by 2026. It's actually money that we think is available, that the state is offering us to help us and assist us in that state mandate. So we're hopeful that that's what this is about. And like I said, we want to research it more, make sure there's no strings attached and no anything that has to be their way. But since we have to do it anyways, it'll be nice if this money is truly available for us to do it the
I
Cowlitz County way.
imagine there's one topic that they will insist that we do it their way.
That could be a possibility,
We've
but
already run into that.
yeah. So we are looking into it before we would accept this money, and we would want board blessing on that as well. But just letting you know that,
I know there's money because sitting in Wasac, I know a lot of places are going through plan updates.
and they have to do those now.
There
Yep.
is money available for that, but I know at least in some of the GMA counties, it involves carbon
Yep.
monitoring and
Yep.
stuff, so I don't know. I would guess that probably is
Tied
part of
to
what
it.
they want from us.
I think we have an easy solution. With that kind of money, you can buy a big, big fan, and we're blowing all the carbon to another county. So we're good.
We'll blow it down to Clark.
Anyways,
The end result will be the same, right?
there you go. There you go. One of you's gonna blow it south,
Probably
one's
more
gonna blow
appropriate
it
to blow
north.
North.
Love it.
in Thurston County, that's where the extra paperwork should go.
And that's the low pressure there because hot air rises, so we'll be able to, yeah, I like it.
You guys are funny. That's all I had today. We'll be back at 10 to discuss the surface mine. Thank you.
Okay. Carolyn, you mind stepping on for a minute? I saw we had this original ballot title. Is there anything we need to do with this, or are you just giving us a heads up here?
Yeah, there's been an update. So my job under the statute is to update the jurisdiction. And since you're the governing board, I am also notifying you. So statute demands that ballot titles be reviewed and altered by the prosecuting attorney, which was done here. So some very small changes. I just wanted to make sure there was a public record that you had the original ballot title and also the amended ballot title.
Okay,
Essentially, the PA's office made it a little more readable for the public. And I think there was an issue with the original ballot title lacking the statement of subject matter under the law.
okay. So information for us. Thank you.
That was it.
I saw, I had a voicemail today, and I know Commissioner Mortensen did because you forwarded the one you got to me. We don't have any jurisdiction over CDICs, do we? Stacking districts? This is a gentleman that has a lawsuit going against CDID number 2.
Yeah, it seems
I don't-
like the way I look at that, it's, the public looks at us as sort of being the last place they can go to get relief for something they see that is amiss. And when I look at that, we have no control over it, but if the claims are accurate, there, is there anything we should do? And, I know we look at the diking districts in finances, and so we have some obligation to look into it or disclose anything we know. We can't do anything about it, but if we're holding information, we should be disclosing that.
But it sounds like the only reason he got it because he's in a lawsuit, so that information should become public record or part of that lawsuit, right? I
I
mean,
would think so.
Doug's been very careful about telling us to stay out of the middle of
Yeah,
these things, so. Okay,
I think the only time counties get involved with those things is if they go belly up.
okay.
And then somebody has to step in, kind of like some of the private sewer and water companies that get started with great expectations and then it doesn't pencil out and eventually it falls back to us.
yeah, but if
A few years ago, we had a workshop with the Diking District supervisors out in Willow Grove, who kind of alerted us to they were only one major disaster away from going belly up because there aren't very many people contributing, but the expenses are pretty constant. And so they were letting us know, there's that potential. That doesn't have anything to do with the lawsuit, just
Right.
because it's Cowlitz County Consolidated Diking District number 2. That's why they think it's part of us
I got,
or we're part of them.
I see Carolyn, you had hand?
I was just gonna let you know that diking districts have their own elected governing board under RCW 85.05. So
So it's really better distributed to their governing, easy for me to say, their board.
yeah, except here's a catch on that, and the gentleman claims that the board did something improperly. So I don't know to whom you take that. And I'm not proposing we do anything. I'm just sympathetic to the
Yeah.
problem that something may be bad. In comparison to the sewer and water example, I wonder if a private water provider had contracts and all that, and there was there was embezzlement or something like that, and it went belly up, how would we handle that? We'd have to take it over, but wouldn't we go after the cause of that?
That's one of those legal questions. I mean,
I'm fortunate, yeah, we're fortunate.
so-
Doug is probably paying attention to this, even if it's after the fact, and he'll educate us.
Yeah.
I'll add one more onto that. If you want to send them in the direction of the state auditor's office, they have a tip line, a hotline number. Somebody can remain anonymous, but if a constituent truly believes that there was some sort of act of fraud financially or a violation of the Open Public Meetings Act, SAO has a duty to investigate both. Just wanted to add that in there.
Excellent. And
Yeah, thank you.
so did you get that emailed also? You
I got a voicemail.
you got the voicemail. I got the email.
Okay, I didn't get an email.
Okay, so I'll respond to him with the recommendation.
Okay,
Carolyn, can you send me the link?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
other things, went out to, Saturday, went out to the gun range for their anniversary thing. It was busy. I mean, it seemed busy. There was people out there to take advantage. It was nice first time I met some of those, they're basically volunteers and spent some time with them and talked about the range. Got to shoot, they had, the gentleman's, was his name Josh? Jason. He had, got to shoot two different guns. One, they took a gun and they it almost looks like a muzzle on it, but it's not a muzzle. It'll hold a golf ball. and he puts a golf ball in there, and then with a little packing, he has a little thing that kind of packs it, holds it there. Then they just use a shell that just has powder, and you could shoot that golf ball. You can shoot it like 300 yards. I need it on the golf range. He goes straight and out, and then he had a World War II M1 carbine. It was manufactured in 1939, you know, that our soldiers used. And they only had these clips. They almost look like a U-shaped, almost like a napkin holder type thing. And they hold, I think, 6, 7 rounds. And just to see what our soldiers were using, like in World War II, and they had to carry a lot of ammunition because you go through those clips pretty fast. And he was telling the story. He said the enemy got to know because when it hits that last one, the clip comes out and pings,
Yeah.
you know. And so then they'd know that you're out animal and come. Well, our soldiers started keeping the other clips and then dropping them. So anyway, I thought it was worthwhile. It was fun to be out there and learn a little history of it and the time they put in. They serve, he said about 350 people a month come through the range. They do a lot with the schools.
Spectacular job. With that M1 carbine also, you got to watch your thumb. I mean, when you're trying to put the clip in,
Well, I can imagine, yeah.
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 There are, I think, 8 or 10 shots per clip.
I think it was only like 6 or 7, Arn.
I've got one at home. I'll just have to look at
Yeah.
it.
But you know, it'll, every time you pull the trigger, it'll fire, so they could go through one of those clips, whatever it is, and not like today's deals. I mean, they go through them in a hurry. And they would have had to carry a lot.
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
And I have to applaud you. You had the courage to show up when people were armed around you.
They were all armed. We went down to the trap range and Richard Mers was down there. He's one of the, whatever they call them, the
A
security.
range safety
master or
officer.
something.
Yeah,
So
yeah, was helping down at the trap range. And I told him my great idea that we should have the commissioners' faces on those and we'll see. It could be a donation thing and who would, and they said they can't really put faces on it. He said it's against the law, but we could do a red, white and blue and then we,
So in sum, there were no close calls
no,
for you.
not that I'm aware of. Stayed out of harm's way. Anything else? About 10 minutes.
Did the Bucks plant get opened last week? Was
It
there a
did.
red
We-
ribbon cutting?
Yeah, we went over to that. Well, it's been running.
Mhm.
And we got tours through it. And it'd be hard for me to, it's all, you know, everything is very automatic. What the people do is basically run the computer to tell the machines what to do. I've never been through an old box plant, so I don't have the perspective of how it used to run to way this runs. But, you know, it was super efficient and the amount of material they could put out was pretty incredible.
And for a commercial operation, you could eat off the floor.
Yeah, it was extremely clean. Yeah. I mean, we had to wash our hands before they'd even let us out in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the automation is the way everything is headed as much. And I remember the last time I toured a sawmill, other than the sawdust is obviously a hazard. Yeah, the operators were inside a box and we had controlling computers.
Yeah.
And cut all the different sizes that they had orders for. So
That line, he told us, moves at 1,500 feet a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can physically watch it and it's clipping along.
that's great.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about there, we think around here mostly of manufacturing. But manufacturing is using fewer and fewer employees that are of what you might say the typical manufacturing employee. It's all automated.
A lot of robotics.
Yeah. And it's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
So, later this week, Wasac has their board meeting and steering
LFG.
committee meeting is gonna have a couple of days to plan ahead. Are you planning to go up there for
Yep,
that? So
Thursday and Friday.
I will be monitoring from home as an alternate.
Yeah.
No.
We got a couple minutes. Anything you guys want to talk about? All good? Want to take a short recess till 10? Okay.
Right.
Okay, we're back. We'll pick up for the 10 o'clock meeting on a agenda review, and I see building and planning, you're back.
Morning, Commissioners. Wayne Nelson, Planning Manager. So just a quick update. We do have the surface mining ordinance on the agenda for tomorrow for public hearing. We have received one additional comment. It's very similar to comments already received from a party of record. Essentially, they're emphasizing adding, I'll say, teeth to the ordinance for the county in instances of non-compliance. So if somebody's operating either without a permit or contrary to conditions of approval, that the county has a little more teeth to go after them. Other than that, everything's status quo.
There's 2 hearings tomorrow. The first one is to get rid of the interim and to kind of get the new structure, and the second one is the surface mine adoption. Oh, backwards, sorry, backwards.
So Tracy's correct. So the first part of the hearing will be consideration of the new ordinance together with repealing the interim regulations, assuming that's approved. Then the second part of that would be the code cleanup with the related provisions within the other areas of the ordinance.
So you're probably looking at 2 votes tomorrow.
Yes.
If we choose to vote and
Correct.
do whatever on the 9:45, then it could affect, then there'd be a vote on,
Exactly right.
depending on how it goes, yeah.
So I didn't quite understand. You said that the comment you've received was in support of this additional language.
It's in support of the ordinance in whole, and the request is to add some additional language to give effectively more punishment, I'll say, in the instance where you have people, operators operating in violation of their permit.
I think they had a monetary fine they were hoping to put in there of
Right.
trying to remember 3,000 per occurrence or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not part of the recommendation.
It's part of the discussion, and in looking at it, it's my understanding that at the end of the day, regardless of what the ordinance may say with respect to the amount of the fines, that it'll eventually go through the courts, and what the county would be doing is requesting courts for an injunction to stop the operation, and then the penalties and fines and whatnot would be decided by the courts ultimately. So really, it's more of a deterrent for the operator in the sense that they wouldn't simply dismiss it as a cost of doing business. That if it's, say it's $100 per day fine, that they're willing to absorb that cost as cost of doing business, as opposed to shutting down their operation or having the fine be so substantial that it doesn't make sense for them to violate the conditions.
We should have some neighborhood of the aerial group up in attendance and online. The parties of record have
I'm
been
guessing
submitted
the
to the board.
same folks that take
Yes.
part in BPAC
Yes.
and showed up at planning commission last
The work
week.
study group, yep.
And they've been supportive.
They've been supportive.
That's what I meant.
We've met with them a number of times recently. Yep. It'd be nice to put this one to sleep.
Yeah,
Yep. That's all we have. Thank you.
okay, thanks. Is Troy on or you want? Okay. Next is Sheriff's Office. I see Troy's on.
Hello, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm not sure what to go ahead with. Purvey just called me about 5 minutes ago. Brad is out of state, but I can answer any questions.
I think what you have going is this the interlocal agreement, in the city of Kelso? You help them out with after hours animal control? I think
Okay,
that's pretty much it, isn't it?
yes. Trying to find this. This is a agreement with Kelso to have a rotation to cover after hours call out for animal control. I don't know, did you have any questions on it, or is there anything I can answer for you today?
I think it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, I don't think we have anything else on it, Troy.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Event Center.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kim Bocut with Cowlitz County Event Center. Tomorrow, I just have on the consent agenda a contract with the North County Recreation Association, giving them funds for their North County event venue completion project. And they are in the amount of 80, what's the amount here?
That was one of the ones we voted on through LTAC.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is one of the large grant.
One of the large
Yeah,
grant
$80,024. And this is one of 4 grants that were awarded by LTAC. This is the first one coming to you.
Okay. I think we had something going to Loluska Center.
Correct. We'll have one from Laluska Foundation, the Mountain Mania Bull Riding, the North County Recreation, which is this one, and then Planters Day, they are partially funding their application.
Yeah, okay. This all came through LTAC. I think the only questions when I sit on that meeting, there were some questions on making it clear as to what qualifies for the large grant versus the other. And I think there's just a little bit of cleanup people are going to work on before the next one. But other than that, they all scored well.
They did. So we do have a large grant and a small grant. This is part of our large grant. The large grant is really supposed to be funding facilities and things to be built, some type of infrastructure that promotes tourism, which this project does with the North County Recreation Association. This is finalizing their, or putting the finishing touches on their picnic structure up at the North County Recreation Ball Field. There's going to be some things coming from the tourism department to clarify these grants. Grays Harbor County does a really great job on their tourism website. And so I've passed that along to our webmaster explaining the qualifications for each of our grants, the amounts of each of our grants, how the money can be spent, the application process, deadlines. So that'll be a lot clearer in the future.
If you get a call from Jen Wills at City of Longview, it's my fault. Because they had down Washington Way, I forget the park there, they abandoned the road in there so they could bring vendors in and do kind of bigger events in that park. And I said, you may check, because we just sit in on LTAC and it may fit that kind of parameter if you need. So if you get a call, that was my fault.
Okay.
His fault.
I know who to blame. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I see IT, but I don't. Not, okay. Public Works.
Good morning, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. So we have 3 motion items and a public hearing scheduled for tomorrow. The first motion item is award of the Slide Creek Road realignment project. We have had 7 bidders for this contract, with the lowest being Compass Construction. They are out of La Center. For those of you who aren't familiar with the road, Slide Creek is west of Longview off of Abernathy Creek Road. We are allowing the contractor to shut down the road during the the construction so that to be more efficient, there is an easy detour on this site. The low bidder was approximately $20,000 below the engineer's estimate. So we're requesting that you approve this construction contract.
Okay.
All right, the next is the Hazeldale Road Slide Repair Project. This had 4 bidders because it's more specialized work. It's a installation of about 110-foot soldier pile wall. We had 4 bidders. The low bidder was Pile Construction out of, now I can't even read my own handwriting, Ravensdale, Washington. This is at milepost 1.76 to 1.80. It's just west of Trout Lake Roads. The road will remain open during construction, but reduced to a single lane with a traffic signal. The low bidder was about 126,000 above the engineer estimate, which is for geotechnical specialized work is not that uncommon. We are removing a temporary fix that we did on this site. This occurred about the same time as the Rock Creek culvert on Tower Road. So it was not eligible for grant FEMA money, but this is one that you generously are funding out of ARPA money.
This is when you're coming out of Lexington, you turn on Hazeldale, is that first
No, it's a little further down than
further
that.
down there?
Yes.
Or up. It's higher elevation, isn't it?
This is a downslide into a creek.
Right, to Trout Lake Road or whatever. they
Yeah,
call it.
Trout Lake
Yeah.
Road's on your left as you're heading that way, and it's just before you hit Trout Lakes Road. And Leckler Creek is seeding away the embankment
Yeah.
there. So the next item is the Toodle wastewater treatment plant improvements amendment to Gibson Olson's contract. It is for $186,000. It is a substantial increase to their contract, but that was because the contract was set up for, let's do the phase 1 where we determine what we're going to need. We did a budget for that. And then we are coming back and amending it so they can design that work for construction. Because we didn't want to go through and have an overly large design phase because we had everything under the sun we might want to do, because we did remove some work that was on the original tentative plan.
So, if everything else goes according to plan, when does construction actually happen?
So this is planned to go out to bid probably mid to late September, go through the whole process. So it would be 2025 construction, but it would be awarded this year with the contract signed. This is ARPA dollars. Some of the items have long lead times, so they may do part of the project we put it on suspense while we're waiting for things like the emergency generator and some of the other mechanical equipment.
I think those ARPA funds have to be spent by 2026.
Correct. They have to be obligated 2024 and spent by 2026.
Because we're kind of getting a little bit closer to the, not
Yes,
being able to finish things in
Yeah.
time, but we're not quite there yet.
not quite there. The goal is to get this out and hopefully the things come in before our lead time goes.
How much is the total engineering done?
So this brings the total engineering up to 268,500. It's about a $2 million project.
So we're still in the 10%
Yes.
range. Thank you.
So those were my motion items for tomorrow. Then I also have a hearing tomorrow to amend the 6-year transportation plan. We're adding 2 additional projects. I'm adding them as Project 90 and 91, just keeps it easier for everyone. We have applied for Protect funding to WashDOT. It's the direct Protect funding that the state is going out for. So we applied for these funds. The Brian Abbott Fish Barrier Removal Board recommends to WashDOT which projects that they pick. And these need to be on our 6-year plan. So we've applied for 2 projects that total about $10.3 million of funding coming from the federal government through the state. It will replace 2 culverts on Delameter Road. And when I say culverts in this case, they are large box culverts, so they're already 15 to 20 feet box culverts. And that project is 6.8. It's at milepost 4.1 and 4.42. They both cross Delameter Creek and they're upstream of the Garlock Road project, which we're going for construction next year. The other project is on Gilmore Road, which is Studebaker Creek, which is up Tootle area at milepost 0.15, and that's a smaller 3.5 million. All of these culverts are reaching end of life and meet the requirements for fish barrier money. I did see the tentative list, and I can't remember which one's which now, but one of them was ranked Project 4 and the other was ranked Project 7. So the probability of them obtaining funding is very high. So we need to get this step done so they're on our STIP. So we can start spending money.
For the
100
public, I think it's safe to say it's not unusual for us to move around because sometimes we don't always know. We estimate when their funding may become available. When it changes, it needs to be part of our plan to get there. So this really isn't unusual type step.
No, this is not unusual, especially because we're finding more and more culverts that are approaching end of life. And this money source is a newer source of money. And so we're just trying to take advantage of it to replace things that qualify. And these are like the Eric Creek 100% funding.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Sounds like you're fighting it.
My allergies kicked in big time this
Are you
weekend.
going to have a voice tomorrow?
I hope so.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Oh,
It wasn't.
I got it. So the other was numbers. Yeah, gotcha.
Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. I have an item for, I think it's consent agenda item. It's an amendment to the Cowlitz County agreement with the Cowlitz Conservation District. And originally, The contract was executed in 2022, March of 2022. It was a contract for a total of $100,000 to the Conservation District. And the disbursements were supposed to occur in 2022 with a final payment in 2023. None of the disbursements happened in 2022 or 2023. As I understand it, the permitting took longer, and therefore the actual work is now being done in 2024. And so I'm submitting a amendment so that we will be able to pay those obligations during the year 2024. And so again, it's a total of $100,000 with disbursements, three even disbursements of $25,000 each. And the final payment is contingent upon a final invoice with the up to the actual remaining cost not to exceed $100,000.
So Kathy, do you know the location of this project? Is it the work around Horseshoe Bend? Or do you have that information?
No, hold on. From what I understand, it's for the Cowlitz River,
Mhm.
but I don't know the exact location.
Aaron, do you remember where that was located?
I'm struggling
I
to.
know we were excited about them.
There were
moving forward,
two places we were really talking about, and I don't remember either
Yeah.
one at this point.
I know they do good work and being that they're predominantly work around water sources, the permit process can be real. uh, Can get extended to be a kind way of saying it.
Yeah, the only thing that's in the original agreement is it just says fund the Cowlitz River Restoration Project. So that's it.
And I think we were kind of looking at that contract to maybe extend or expand their scope on, additional work.
Yeah, and some of the timing's a little, because it took so long, I'm getting a little lost. There was a place up along the Lewis that was fairly significant near the golf course. And,
That would be different than what this one is. Because this one specifically says Cowlitz River Restoration.
yeah,
And what I like about this group is when we award them funds, you can physically go out and see, what they've done. They do. As on a personal note, I like that. I like actual results.
Yep, so that's on your agenda for tomorrow.
Okay.
And it will require just a footnote, but it will require a budget amendment because this budget was placed in a previous year's budget and not expended. So it will be expended in 2024. So I have to amend the budget to include that. So. Okay. Then another agenda item that I have is for the rural public facilities funding. And so there are 5 contracts. Previously, we had a workshop to discuss the proposals that were submitted. And so now I'm coming to you with the actual contracts to execute for the funding and giving them their dates of funding when it's spread out during the rest of the year. The first disbursement will happen in August for those funds, and just FYI, those funds in total, $4,250,000 basically. And so anyway, so the 5 contracts, I'm asking for your consent agenda item for approval of those
Yeah.
contracts.
These funds come in from a tax rebate from the state. They're not an
Right.
additional tax. We get a tax rebate for rural funds and for infrastructure type projects and.
For economic
and
development,
yeah,
and most of
we-
them are infrastructure-related projects, water, sewer, road expansion, business park, light industrial building. So,
We end
oh,
up,
and yeah, so and a road for the Public Facilities District, for their master plan, having to do with the event center and those.
Yeah, we
they're-
had
Those,
City of Castle
grounds.
Rock, the Public Facilities District,
mhm,
City of Kalama, Port of Kalama, and Port of
Woodland.
Woodland all came in with, I think we all agreed were good projects, so.
Mhm.
We already talked about the federal forest funds.
Yeah, we already talked about those. Sorry. Jump the gun.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay. Carolyn's still on? There she is. I see you're on here, Carolyn.
I'm just listening in still.
Okay, well, I saw elections down here, so I didn't know if you had anything additional.
Oh, no, I think that that's where they originally put me on the agenda. Unless you guys had questions, filing week was, it closed on Friday and it was pretty crazy.
Okay,
Just a question, Carolyn, I did see lots of PCO activity. Was that something you saw as unusual?
No, we typically, I should say it ebbs and flows depending on what's happening within the parties, but we typically see every even year primary, we have a pretty good turnout for PCO elections nowadays, so.
On the Democrat and Republican side?
Yeah, again, that kind of ebbs and flows, whether the Democrats or the Republicans are more organized and active in certain years. Republicans definitely in this county have been more active in recent years. But typically we have a really good response. It seems like the parties are both very organized and they reach out to their members to file ahead of time. I would make a quick comment, if you weren't following filing results, we ended up with 30 candidates for governor and a very unusual situation with 3 people filing under the exact same name and party preference for governor. And I should tell you that we have been in communication with the Secretary of State, and who'd have thought, but there is already a whack out there to address this issue. So it is now in the hands of the Secretary of State to make sure that those 3 identical filings are recognizable for the public. I don't know what he will determine. The answer to that is whether it's labeling one as the incumbent and somehow labeling the others as something different. I don't know. It's in his hands, thankfully, not mine. So just thought I'd point that out. Those are legitimate filings, not a technical error.
All for governor?
three Bob Fergusons.
All for governor, exact same spelling, exact same party. So they would have been 3 identical names on the ballot. So people essentially would not have known who to vote for if Bob Ferguson was their candidate.
So none of them are the incumbent. You
One
mentioned
of them is,
No.
you just don't know
No.
which one is.
No, one of them is Attorney General, but they're running for governor.
Correct, yes,
Yeah.
the incumbent attorney general, yes, correct.
Yeah.
You know, that's a very interesting thing. I can think of somebody walking down the street and thinking, I'd like to be governor. Oh, this is my best chance ever.
Yeah, I got.
We noticed something interesting today too, that two Bob Fergusons have the same mailing address. So not the same person, but they listed the same mailing address, different phone numbers and different emails. There's something smells funny in all
That
of
does.
that.
Maybe they're identical twins.
Possibly, who knew?
Carolyn signed off quickly. I don't.
Oh, we're already in timeout. YouTube can't put us in timeout anymore, so. Anything else? Anything from the public? We have HR at 11. We just recess till 11? Okay, we'll recess till 11 o'clock.
Till when?
11 o'clock. Okay. We'll head into HR.
Good morning, Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I don't have any requests this morning, but I do have a couple executive sessions under performance of a public employee.
Two of them.
Yes.
Okay. And time-wise, you're guessing?
For the first one, I would say 10, second one 10, so let's say 20.
20 minutes total, 10 for each. Okay, we'll adjourn to executive session, performance of a public employee.
Okay, thank you.
The board is extending the executive session for a period of 10 minutes until 11:37. The board is extending the executive session for a period of 10 minutes until 11:47. The board is extending the executive session for a period of 10 minutes until 11:56. The board is extending the executive session for a period of 10 minutes until 12:05.
Okay, we're back from executive session. No decisions were made. I'll turn it over to Jessica.
Hello again, Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I have a request from the prosecuting attorney's office to promote their current DPA, Jacob Lervold, to senior DPA step 1, effective the date of his anniversary, which is either June 1 or July 1st.
Okay,
I'll move approval of the recommendation.
motion to approve. Not seeing any questions. Call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Also vote aye.
Also, from the prosecuting attorney's office, they're requesting to reclassify their senior DPA, Anthony Carlo, to a new lead position titled Assistant Chief Criminal Deputy Prosecuting Attorney, which is 5% above the current senior DPA, effective May 16th.
So moved. Okay.
Motion-
Commissioner Mortensen moves, so moved.
Okay. Motion to approve? Seeing no hands, a call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Also vote aye.
Next item, request is to reclassify the Director of Public Services to salary grade 640, step 8, effective May 16th.
So move.
Motion to approve? No hands, call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Also vote aye.
And then the last request I have is to reclassify the Deputy Director of Public Services to salary grade 600, which would include a 5% increase.
So moved.
Motion to approve? No hands, call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Jessica. Anything else? Okay. We will adjourn.